In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The parable this morning is tailor-made for Stewardship Sunday. It's a parable about stewardship, and it's a parable about money. The talents the three stewards are given represent money. A talent in the ancient Greek-speaking world was a measure of silver. But the parable works just as well for our purposes if we think of the word talent the way the English-speaking world thinks of the word talent. An aptitude, a skill, a gift. Whether the talent is artistic or intellectual or administrative or mathematical or musical or manual, cooking or nursing or writing or woodworking or more than one of the above or something else entirely, these are all gifts we've been given. And they've been given to us to share. And these, along with our time, along with our money, are gifts we pledge to the church on Stewardship Sunday. But that doesn't just happen on Stewardship Sunday. It happened last Friday. Last Friday was the Italian dinner, which masquerades as a fundraising event. It's actually a fellowship event. It's an event where people get together and break bread together. It happens also to be a stewardship event because it's a place where people get together and share their gifts. Okay, I said almost exactly what I'm about to say last week, talking about a community breakfast several weeks ago. But the same thing happened again Friday night. People got together and share their gifts. Gifts of cooking, gifts of hospitality, gifts of organizing, gifts of serving. People were giving away their time. People were giving away their energy. People gave away tickets to the event to our neighbors. And they are giving away the money they made by selling tickets to us to the food pantry, so that the food pantry can bless our neighborhood. The Italian dinner was a parable about stewardship. Okay? What was it? A group of stewards offering their gifts to God by pouring them into the church for the building up of the community, as St. Paul says, and for the blessing of the world. There are parables like that all over this parish. Okay, the basement on First Street is a parable about stewardship. The bread ministry is a parable about stewardship. The altar guild is a parable about stewardship. What is the altar guild but a group of stewards who offer their gifts to God by serving their community? So too the choir, the acolytes, the lectors, the Sunday school teachers, the counters, the ushers, the greeters. Actually, everybody who participates in the liturgy is doing stewardship. What do we do in the liturgy? We pool our voices. We pool our faith. We pool a little bit of our money and a little bit of food and a little bit of bread and a little bit of wine, and we offer these gifts up to God. Worship is an act of stewardship. But stewardship is an act of worship. That is what is happening in the parable today. The stewards are offering their gifts back to the giver. But the giver in the parable isn't really interested in getting the gifts back. Okay, God is not a banker who wants to get everything he's lent us back with interest. God is a father who wants to see the gifts he's given his children used. And what he's most interested in is seeing his children grow. And that is what the parable's really about. It's actually not a parable about money. It's not even a parable about talent, strictly speaking. It's not even, strictly speaking, a parable about giving. It is a parable about growing. And it's a parable about faith. And the first thing the parable teaches is that faith is a gift. Faith is a gift that God gives us. And that right away should be liberating to us. That should take all the pressure off us to know that we don't have to drum up our faith. We don't have to dream up our faith. We don't have to squeeze it out of ourselves. Faith is a gift that God gives his children. And here for many of us is the first test of faith. Can you believe that God has given that gift to you? The second thing the parable teaches about faith is that God gives the gift to different people in different measures. Not everybody has the same measure of faith, and that too should be liberating to us. That should take all the pressure off us to know that we don't have to live up to anybody else's faith. I think a lot of people get intimidated or discouraged when they run into somebody whose faith is so strong and so deep and so glowing that ours pales by comparison, and we immediately figure there must be something wrong with us. Or, on the other hand, we get, as the parable says, all scornful when we run into someone whose faith seems so weak or so small or so shallow, and we immediately figure there must be something wrong with them. Undoubtedly, there was something wrong with all of us and with each of us. But there is nothing wrong with having less faith than somebody else. Faith is a gift that God gives to different people in different measures for different purposes. That should set us free from the terrible, miserable temptation of comparing our faith to anybody else's. All of that should come as a relief to us and an encouragement to us and a comfort to us. All of that gives us a nice, safe place to begin. Here is where the parable becomes a challenge to us. It teaches that we are each held accountable for the gift we've been given. Even if it's just a little one. Even if it's a big one. We are each expected to grow what we've been given. The steward in the parable who is given 5 and grows it to 10 is highly praised. The steward who is given 2 and grows it to 4 is highly praised. The steward who is given 1 and buries it, keeps it nice and safe and untouched, untried, unused, is rebuked. He's punished. He's dispossessed. The little bit he was given is taken away from him, and he is left with nothing. Which seems extremely harsh. But that's the natural consequence of failing to exercise a gift. The natural consequence is dispossession. You don't use your gifts, they deteriorate. And eventually, they disappear. If you don't exercise a muscle, it atrophies. If you don't use it, you lose it. But if you do use it, it grows. So it is with faith. Faith is just another word for trust. Our faith in God is our trust in God. And whether we've been given a lot of that or just a little bit of that is totally irrelevant. The only relevant question for any of us is, how will we grow what we've been given? How will we even locate what we've been given? How will we learn to begin to trust God at all? Well, how do we learn to trust anybody at all? Usually it's over the course of time by experimentation. Okay. In a normal friendship, this happens so naturally we never even notice it. But I learned to trust a friend by confiding a little in a friend. And if my new friend keeps my confidence, then my confidence in my new friend grows. And over the course of time, I'm going to be more and more comfortable sharing more and more with my friend as my friend continues to keep my confidences or whatever else I'm trusting with him. I'm going to feel more and more comfortable trusting him with things of greater and greater value. And then after a while, my new friend is now my old friend with whom I will trust anything. So it is with God. Here is the rub. Not all of our friends have been that faithful. And like any other gift, the gift of faith can be damaged. And some of us have had our capacity for trust, our God-given gift for faith, damaged by unfaithful friends, unfaithful partners, unfaithful parents, unfaithful priests, or other people who have betrayed our trust and damaged our ability to trust anyone ever again, including God. And God knows it. God knows how much faith we have, and He knows how much damage we've suffered. And He has promised to heal us. He is patient and good and gentle and faithful. But there's only two ways I know to make Him prove it. One way is just to take a little risk on Him and to trust Him with a little something and to watch and see what He does with it. The other way is just to take Him at His word and trust Him with everything. Okay, I'm going for plan A myself. But we all have to begin somewhere. And we have to begin sometime. And it's better to begin sooner than later because time is a precious gift which we've been asked to steward. There is currently an advertising campaign for a financial services company which is selling retirement plans. And the sales pitch is given by characters who give testimonies about how they're spending their retirements. And because they plan for their retirements, they say, they get to spend their retirements doing things they always wanted to do but never got around to doing. So one of these guys always wanted to be a musician. Because he planned for his retirement, he gets to spend his retirement doing something he never got to do before in his life. He gets to develop and enjoy his gift for music. Okay, that is a story with a happy ending. Every time I hear that story on the radio, I feel sad. I mean, I feel a little bit sad that that man spent most of his life and the prime of his life with his gift for music up on a shelf. How much more fruitful would the whole rest of his life have been if he had spent some time in his life cultivating that gift he had from the beginning? How much more musical would his retirement be if he had spent the rest of his life cultivating that gift of his for music? Okay, better late than never, for sure. And there's really not much future in parsing advertising campaigns. But I think that sales pitch is a parable about faith. I think a lot of us think of faith as something we got buried somewhere down inside of us, and we're sort of planning someday to dig it up, take it out, and do something with it. After we get some other things taken care of. After we get our careers figured out, or after we get our money figured out, or after we get our families figured out. Good luck with that. I don't know how many of us are actually waiting for our retirements to do something with our faith, but I think a lot of us are waiting for something. We're waiting for something to give. But God has already given There's no future in waiting for the future. And I can promise you, there is no future in waiting until we have more faith. That is just a waste of the faith we've been given. Better late than never, for sure. But you know how it is with those things we put up on a shelf. Most of them end up on the curb. I said last week that the whole point of stewardship is not to meet the needs of our church. The needs of our church will be amply and abundantly met when we begin to answer our own needs, to use what we've been given and to give what we've been given. If we will share what we've been given, God will grow it. And if you have trouble believing that, then this is a safe place to experiment with that. This is a safe community to take some risks in. This is a community that is learning together how to share what we've been given. This is a community that is growing in faith. And that is the whole point of Stewardship Sunday.